Welcome, everybody. While we're waiting for the governor, just wanted to say hello and let you know it'll be just a couple more minutes. Thank you. All right, good afternoon, Governor.
Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon to our participants and attendees. My name is Christy Bezanson, and I'm the Director of Results Washington. Welcome to the Public Performance Review with Governor Inslee. We have ASL interpretation today, and closed captioning is also available. You can turn on closed captioning using the Zoom toolbar. Move your mouse and the toolbar will appear. To activate closed captioning, click the live transcript button, then select the show subtitle option. Before we get started today, I want to briefly orient you to Zoom. We know that many of you are familiar with Zoom meetings, but there are some differences in Zoom webinar, which we're using today. The biggest difference is that you won't be able to talk or have your video visible. This ensures all participants can focus on today's presentation. So if you notice the Zoom toolbar, move your mouse and the toolbar will appear and you can see icons for the chat and Q&A. We're using chat to share the links to the materials, but chat between participants and Q&A is not available. You can adjust your view to make the presentation or speaker larger by sliding the vertical bar on your screen from left to right. We have ASL interpretation today, but closed captioning is also available. You can turn on the closed captioning using the Zoom toolbar. Move your mouse and the toolbar will appear. To activate closed captioning, click the live transcript button, then select the show subtitle option. If you need technical assistance, please email results@gov.wa.gov, and we will do our best to help you. Finally, at the end of the session, a survey will pop up. Please take the time to complete the survey. This will provide us with meaningful feedback about your meeting experience. And with that, I want to share about the purpose of our meeting today and a little bit about how we got here. The Public Performance Review process, or PPR, is our updated approach to public reviews. We will meet with the governor regularly and share details on a specific cross-agency project tied to his priorities. It will be an opportunity for the governor to hear from those impacted by and involved in the project, and it serves as space to talk about the work completed so far to help inform what is needed to get the project to completion. The The Results Washington team, serving in a facilitation, coordination, and project management role, has partnered with state agencies to tackle complex cross-enterprise improvement projects. We currently have 6 projects underway, and the road to today's public performance review meeting began several months ago. We met with agency leaders to identify and finalize improvement project recommendations. Leaders then chose what they wanted to work on and at what level of responsibility, and they identified the appropriate subject matter experts. We worked with those SMEs to home in on a specific scope for the project. And it's important to note that the project selected had to be done within a certain set of criteria, including within existing resources, without policy or legislative action, and without IT being the only solution. This meant the project teams had to be very focused and selective in chartering the work. The result are projects that are feasible, attainable, and sustainable. The purpose of today's featured project is to increase equity by coordinating culturally sensitive, learner-centered outreach to potential participants and support for existing participants who are facing barriers in Career Connect Washington program completion. This is a collaborative, multi-agency project. A special thanks to our sponsoring agencies, Career Connect Washington, the Employment Security Department, and the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges. Today's presenters will cover this project in greater detail. Before we get started, Governor, we look forward to hearing from you.
You bet. Thanks, Christy. Looking forward to this discussion. You know, this is a very ambitious project that we have in Washington State. We're leading the nation in the career connected field to try to make sure that every person has a destiny in one way or another to really connect to a career of their choice, with or without a 4-year college degree. And as any new endeavor, we have to improve as we go along. And I look forward to this discussion to make sure we're bringing as much justice to BIPOC communities and those with disabilities and in rural underserved areas and low-income folks. That's an imperative part of if we're going to succeed in this mission statement. So I'm really excited about what we're doing already, but I know that we can improve, and I'm looking forward to everybody's ideas on how to do that. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Governor. Now we will hear from Maud Dodden, Project Leader for Career Connect Washington. Maud?
Thank you, Christy, and thank you, Governor, for joining and being the recipient of this today. So excited for your leadership on this initiative. For those of you not familiar, Career Connect Washington is a collective action effort across business, labor, regional networks, all kinds of educators and community leaders, and of course is headquartered in state government under the governor's leadership. We have so far in this short 2 years since the legislation has passed, seen the enrollment of 12,800 students in these career launch programs in nearly 100 new programs, 33 of which are in the registered apprenticeship system, and they're an amazing part and a partner to this work. We also have been keeping close tabs on who is getting the opportunity to participate, to the core of our discussion today. And we are seeing pretty good accessibility, but there are gaps. And I think our goal here is to try to focus together across the entire state agency framework to say, how do we work together to close those gaps? I've listed what those are on the slide so people can see them, but they include things like young girls not opting into these pathways as much, and also Latinx, low-income students experiencing homelessness. And so we have work to do, as the governor just said, to close those gaps and make sure every young person can have these experiences. One thing we have achieved, which I think is helpful, is making a directory of experiences available to everyone in the state, including hopefully students, most importantly, but parents, teachers, counselors, those who are influencing young people's choices about what programs actually exist. This is a first. We did not have anything like this before. And it was a big frustration when we did research and before starting this initiative. So we're very happy about that, and even more happy that in it includes a directory of support services. So if you are trying to participate and you want transportation or childcare or financial aid, there's a ready directory of how you might navigate that specific to your region. So these are good tools, but Christy mentioned at the beginning, IT is not our only solution, but it's a great supporting feature. And we're glad that we've been able to get as far as we have on that part of it. So going forward, all of this is really anchored in a vision that every young person in our state would have many, many pathways towards economic self-sufficiency and fulfillment. And that together, we're really bringing a statewide system for this into play. And that means we have many, many partners, and we build off of all the good stuff that's already happening, but close gaps where we need to. I wanted to really focus on the last two paragraphs because they're so critical to the work that we have with Results Washington. We know for every young adult to succeed, we have to focus on students farthest from opportunity, especially students of color, Indigenous students, low-income students, rural students, and students with disabilities. And we know this because we acknowledge that systemic racism has actually held these students back, especially Black and Indigenous students. And we aspire to build an anti-racist system for career-connected learning. None of these factors should actually determine a young person's opportunities. Okay, so going forward, we have big ambitions. I'm not going to dwell on this until the end, but you'll see as we're planning forward to sustain and make this a long-term part of our educational system and our workforce system in the state, we're focused on equitable access as one of many things we're focused on. But I want to say that in each of the other 5 big buckets, we are also focused on equitable access. So whether we're talking to employers, or whether we're talking about making this high quality, or whether we're talking about it's in the K-12 or 4-year system or CTCs, we're always talking about this equity vision that I just discussed and actually building in accountability. So I want to talk just briefly about how we run this big initiative, because if you go forward a slide, you'll see that it involves a lot of different players, and there is no single entity who's responsible for everything. Probably the closest to that is you, Governor. You are charged in the legislation for implementing this. And there is a work group created in legislation of all the different organizations that have the logos there that are part of the state. But there's also provision in the legislation for a statewide advisory team. That is the team that I lead. And it involves mostly outside players. So there is a business and philanthropy leadership table. There's an industry association table, which are convened by the Washington Roundtable, a very close partner in this work. There's a labor leadership table, and that is convened by the Washington State Labor Council. And then we have a wonderful new equity advisory network that's been created in the last year. And we have 9 competitively selected regional networks. You're going to hear from one of them today. Sue Kane is going to speak to us. They are convened by Washington STEM. So this is a big collaborative effort. It is what I think is called a collective action effort. And it is very distributed in terms of leadership. However, I want to stress one very important thing about this, which is on the next slide. There's a lot of accountability in it. So while there are many, many players, it's a huge focus of the initiative to talk about what each player is responsible for delivering, specifically goals and metrics for success. And so with regard to the state agencies, each state agency sits down once a year with us to kind of look ahead. We set those goals and metrics, and I will say that the governor's office is involved in every single one of those meetings. And we come back at the end of the year and we evaluate. We just published September 1st our results in this for the last year in a legislative report that was released September 1st. What's cool about this Results Washington work is that this will really flesh out new accountabilities, we think, for us to deliver by each individual agency involved here today. And many of them have been core partners, but we've brought through this process some new agencies to the table, and I'm super excited to work with them. So, so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Christy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maud. Before we move on, Governor, do you have any questions for Maud?
Not right now. Thanks, Maud.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Governor.
Maud. So now we will hear from Dan Zeitlin from the the Employment Security Department.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. As Maud mentioned, Career Connect Washington is truly a statewide system, and as one of the core agencies in this effort, the Employment Security Department is committed to the initiative as a whole, and of course to Results Washington. ESD funds the work of program intermediaries and regional networks, and we do so with an intentional focus on equity. After all, developing a plan and enrolling youth from low-income families, youth with disabilities, English language learners, and youth furthest from opportunity is the very first deliverable in every program development contract that we issue. And this all aligns quite well with our mission at ESD, which is to provide our communities with inclusive workforce solutions that promote economic resilience and prosperity. And that includes making a priority of serving populations with barriers to employment. So we're excited to be a Career Connect Washington partner and to see this project as an opportunity to amplify our efforts to serve Washingtonians equitably. We are honored to do this work in close partnership with other state agencies, and that includes the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges. And on that note, I'd like to turn it over to Jan Yoshiwara, SBCT's Executive Director. Jan?
Thank you, Daniel. Good afternoon, Governor Inslee. It is my pleasure to join this public performance review meeting to say a few words about the Community and Technical College Systems engagement in Career Connect Washington. You know, Maud, I was just trying to think about how long we've been engaged in this work. It's been more than a year or two. And I think we've accomplished some really good things together collectively as a coalition of state agencies and business and labor on behalf of Washingtonians.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to, we were waiting to get our ASL interpreter. I think he is here now, so we're good to go. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. Sorry about that.
You're fine.
So our college system is very well positioned to expand youth apprenticeships, especially for young adults who would not otherwise pursue post-secondary education and training. Half of our students now in the community technical college system are students of color. And this is, as you know, well above the state's population diversity at 33%. So it's clear that when people of color think about going to college, they turn to their local community or technical college for their post-secondary education. We're very proud of that. In fact, 12 of our colleges now are majority students of color. And this creates a supportive, inclusive campus climate for diverse students. 45% of our students are engaged in technical education. It's actually our largest mission area in the college system. We have more than 200 different workforce education programs across the colleges that prepare people directly for jobs in our state's economy. And that translates to about 126,000 Washingtonians each year that are engaged directly in technical education for work. So our colleges have a lot of experience with apprenticeship programs. So we currently enroll almost 13,000 apprentices in classroom instruction that complements their on-the-job training. And we are fully implementing guided pathways, thanks to your support, Governor, and the support of the state legislature, which means that we treat every student as someone on a career pathway, earning college credentials on their way to a job and a career. So we have integrated career launch programs into our career pathways work because it's all heading in the same direction. The State Board for Community and Technical Colleges has taken the lead in developing and implementing the career launch program endorsement process, which is the key to accessing career launch equipment and program deployment funds. So far, we have approved more than 60 programs statewide through the rigorous career launch endorsement process. We have allocated $1.7 million in targeted career launch funding to 17 programs for expansion, and we have distributed $5 million in equipment funds to 20 career launch programs around the state. So we have supported the development of career launch programs throughout the state in urban and rural communities, both, and in fields from engineering technology to automotive to mechatronics. And I am very pleased that we will get to hear about one such career launch program from students and faculty who are making it happen at Columbia Basin College in Pasco, Washington. So thank you, Governor, for your confidence in our community and technical college system. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Janae Myers-Twitchell with Washington STEM.
Thank you so much, Jan. And thank you, Governor, for your leadership and your enthusiasm about this work. Excited to be here. So I'm Dr. Janae Myers-Twitchell. I'm the Chief Impact Officer at Washington STEM. And I'm a homegrown Washingtonian. I grew up in the Yakima Valley. I was first generation to go to college from a low-income family. And the Career Connect Washington initiative and this specific project from Results Washington would have supported a student just like me. And that's why I'm also excited to hear from the students later today. So I'm really thankful to get to do this work and to pay it forward. And Washington STEM, we're a statewide nonprofit, but we're a co-founder and longtime partner with CCW. And we support many of the pieces, as Maud mentioned. And I help ensure that we're measuring in a way that tells us if we're making progress against our big goals that you see here on the left, and also towards our goals for each systemically marginalized population, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And what's amazing about this work is that while I do sort of the data work, if you will, along with a number of the agencies, we get to then work with each of the region's Career Connect Washington leadership teams to look at their data and to make plans for change. And that's really what this project is about and what we're describing today. It's not just about reporting on the outcomes of the students and the programs, but also reporting on how we got there. Because what that means is that we have to change how the system measures and who is spotlighted and who gets talked about. So you'll see here that we have our system level goals. We want to reach 60% of young adults completing career launch programs. And we want to make sure 100% of our youth by the high school class of 2030 are in career prep and career explore activities. And what's really important throughout all of this is that we're measuring completion by subgroups, by those demographics at the regional level and by industry. And we're doing the same thing in our long-term successes. So we're seeing if unemployment is changing, not just relative to other states, but for populations of color, those who've been chronically low income, those who've experienced homelessness, et cetera. So you can go on to the next slide. So Maud mentioned this vision, and so I won't restate it here, but I think what is important to call out here and that I'll touch on in a bit is that in order to succeed, we have to focus on those students furthest from opportunity. And part of how we do that is by measuring their outcomes and by making it really transparent. You can go ahead to the next slide. So our equity goal, if we've realized it, and if our project goes well, it will mean that race, income, geography, gender, citizenship status, and other demographics will no longer predict the outcomes of our Washingtonians. And we then aim to build a system, which means that every agency, every high school, every community college, every community, every part that a student touches is enabling them to get into these programs, to access sustaining wage jobs, and to reach family sustaining wage careers. And we have to measure each point in time all along a person's journey with those demographics to make sure that we're getting there. And when we when we mean this, what we mean is what gets measured gets done. So in the actual RCW that governs this initiative, it calls out the specific demographics that we have to measure against. And those might look like the usual demographics you'd want to see called out: race, gender, income, rurality, ability, foster youth status, and homeless youth status, and English learner status. But the reality is that we're not always great at measuring all of those things. That takes a lot of systems change. We actually, as a state, have some of the best data in the nation, according to the Data Quality Campaign, which means that our agencies, all of our state agencies like SBCTC, have been collecting really great data and in fact disaggregating that data. And it's all connected in a state longitudinal data system. What we have to focus on is accessing that data and then using it. I like to say, and people laugh at me, but I think it's memorable, we don't just use data for funsies. We want to use data for change, right? We don't want to just collect data and have people sit and look at numbers. We want to make sure people are using it. And so what that has meant is that we've worked with all of the named agencies through this RCW to improve their data collection and connection. What that means is that in some cases, not all of our agencies or all of our systems have been set up to actually collect data in a disaggregated way. And that's despite some of our best efforts. You know, the Education Opportunity Gap and Oversight Accountability Board has actually already stated what the recommendations are for collecting disaggregated data, but we've had to help our systems and our agencies actually collect that data in a way that's useful. It's also meant that we've worked really closely with our state labor and industries and our apprenticeship programs to start to collect things like allowing for folks to say if they're gender X or non-binary, which is not something that has happened up until now. And again, how we collect the data tells you how and who we care about. And what this also means is that we're not just measuring the outcomes by demographics, but we're comparing it back to the K-12 public student population. And when we do this, we can tell if we're actually reaching equity. So if we've reached equity, then we would see that 23% of our K-12 senior class last year identified as Latinx. And if we see 23% of the career launch students are identifying as Latinx, we'll know that we're on track to equity. And that's how we're measuring it. That's a really hard thing to do and to pull together, but that's the approach that we're taking. And we're doing all of this by putting it onto public, accessible, relevant, and transparent dashboards so that anybody can see how we're doing at every region, every regional level, and every demographic every year, and updated twice a year, so that there's no secrets and we can know how we're doing. What this has meant is that we were recently recognized in the Bellwether report called the Working to Learn and Learning to Work report that just came out a couple of months ago. It's a work-based learning analysis state by state. So put all 50 states together and gave red, yellow, greens on all of our, all the ways that you can assess work-based learning. And we were called out. We have all greens. We are leading the nation for measuring for equity with our work-based learning strategy, with this initiative that you helped launch with us several years ago. And that's a big deal. It means that we have all of our agencies pulling the data together. We're actually driving towards equity. It's transparent and it's applicable. People are using the data to then improve practices. And there's only one other state in the entire nation can say that they have greens in measuring towards equity for their work-based learning initiatives. So we're really proud of that. We want to make sure you have that as a feather in your cap that you can tout when you go and talk to other governors and other initiatives. And so how are we doing so far? Maud kind of hinted at this at the top, but what we're seeing is that we actually, over the past 2 years, have seen an increase in the percent of students of color who are going into career launch programs from year 1 to year 2. And specifically, we've seen an increase of students of color in apprenticeships, which is awesome. As Maud mentioned, we need to work to reach more Latinx students and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander students, especially because that was a trend that was common during the pandemic of needing to connect to those students and their families. The good news is that we've seen a good increase in the percent of students who identify as female going into registered apprenticeships. We still have lots and lots of work to do there, but the trend is positive, which is really good. And actually, the trend has been negative in many other states. So that's really good that we're holding steady and starting to see some good progress there. There have been increases for students who've experienced homelessness, students with disabilities, and English learners, though we still have a long ways to go to reach full equity there. And we have worked to improve outreach for low-income students. And the good news is that I work with every region of the state, and our team works with the leaders in every region of the state so that they know their data, and then they're working to improve their programs to reach out to these students based on their region's data. And you'll get to hear a little bit more about that later in today's session. So with that, I'll give that back to you, Governor, in case you have any questions. I think we have a 5 or 6 minute Q&A.
You bet. Thanks for some good news there. I will not be humble talking to my fellow governors about the successes that you've been working so hard on. I'll try to give you credit. I may take some because I'm governor, but in any event, thanks for your work. Dr. Myers-Twitchell, where'd you go to high school?
Went to West Valley High School,
All
the
right.
West Valley in Yakima, not the West Valley in Spokane.
Well, I was probably your member of the U.S. Congress when you were in kindergarten, I suspect. So I don't know if
I think that's true.
I don't know if I was over there, but it's great to see your work. This is very encouraging to see we're best in class on data, but we got to put that data to work, obviously. And I know that those are the second steps that we'll be talking about. Jan, you know, one of the things about when I look at issues of justice and equity, it's so frequently people in lower income situations, a lot of the BIPOC community, they don't have a personal connection that gives them just that crack, that opening in the door to get their foot in the door, to make them think about something. What's the best way to get people on that first exposure, the first way to drag them into this, who may not have a relative or family member or neighbors who've gone this route? What do you think is most successful? And you're the expert because you've been so good at this. Your system has been so good at this.
Well, I was going to say family member, neighbor.
Right.
So there is an extension of that for people who are first in their family to go to college. And that is people out in the community and other trusted messengers. So people go to church, they go to school, they hang out in their neighborhood. And so what our colleges, one of the values of having local colleges is that you can tap into those local trusted messenger communities. And that's what our colleges do. And that's what we're focused on doing, especially in communities of color and low income communities. The places where people are not going to get that from family members, from parents who are college graduates. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's a little bit intangible to talk about that. We also utilize students, currently enrolled students, because they are the older brothers and sisters and the neighbors and et cetera of folks in local communities. So, for example, some of our colleges have used the relief funds, the higher education relief funds, to create positions for students to be ambassadors for the college, to go out into their neighborhoods and do that kind of outreach. So I think it really is a personal touch kind of a process that really makes the biggest difference in our experience.
Could we use the people who are in these programs as recruiters, ambassadors? Would it be too much to say, as part of you being in this program, we ask that you connect with one other person about this? Friend, neighbor?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a terrific idea. I think some of our folks, students, and faculty and staff do that naturally anyway. But to make it a more intentional, organized effort, I think would be really beneficial.
Just an idea.
Mm-hmm. It's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for the progress we made. Onward and upward.
All right, thank you, Dan, Jan, and Dr. Myers-Twitchell. Next, we will hear from Dr. Carly Schiffner from the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges.
Thank you, Governor Inslee and Dr. Myers-Twitchell. In 2019, the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges paired up with partners in higher education, labor, K-12, and business to create the Career Launch Endorsement process. Over the past 2 years, over 60 college programs have been endorsed as Career Launch. Nearly half of the higher education institutions in the state of Washington are participating in the Career Launch program. One college in our state that has one of the highest concentrations of Career Launch endorsed programs is Columbia Basin College. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Michael Lee, Vice President of Instruction for Columbia Basin College, who will share a bit about the college, its Career Launch endorsed programs, and will introduce leadership and students who are participating in one of the endorsed programs. Dr. Lee?
Thanks, Carly. I'm delighted to be here on behalf of President Rebecca Woods to highlight some of the great work that Columbia Basin College has started with our Career Launch programs. CBC serves approximately 11,000 students in Benton and Franklin counties. As a Hispanic serving institution, 43% of our student population identify as Latinx. The majority of our students are also first-gen college students who we support in their journey through education to careers. Our work with Career Launch endorsements is a huge part of that work. Students need to see their education leading to meaningful careers. With our key partners at the Hanford site, Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, the LIGO Observatory, various agriculture producers, and Pasco School District, we've been successful in earning 8 Career Launch endorsements, both at the associate and bachelor's level, in programs ranging from applied management and nuclear technology to information technology and cybersecurity. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Sandhya Kisoju, our Director for Agriculture Education, Research and Development. She was instrumental in bringing our new high-tech agriculture production degree together.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sandhya Kisoju, Director for Agriculture Education, Research and Development at Columbia Basin College. It is my pleasure to be here, represent and talk about our agriculture program at Columbia Basin College. Columbia Basin College offers 2 associate degrees, AAS in agriculture production and agribusiness. We do offer transfer degrees, one in crops and soil science and the other in agriculture. We do offer a BAS degree, bachelor's in applied management with emphasis in agriculture. We are so happy to get our 2 of our programs, associate in applied science in agriculture production and bachelor's of applied science in applied management with emphasis in agriculture, endorsed by our Career Launch programs. Next, sir. Yeah. And we are also happy to receive Career Launch equipment grant of $500,000 to purchase our latest equipment that will be used in our agriculture program, providing students with direct access to the industry with most common equipment and technology. Students will learn how to apply the knowledge learned in the classroom in real world settings, giving them valuable hands-on experience desired by today's agriculture programs. Next, please. These are our new hi-fi drones, which I want to share. This is like hi-fi technology. It's not only used by our agriculture students, it's also being used by engineering students and also computer science. Next slide, please. Project Sunshine, it's a Montana-based indoor agriculture startup company, which is about to start 32 new greenhouses in our Pasco location. And with training students with this hi-fi hydroponic technology. It's a technology where you grow crops without soil. So training them, providing them hands-on technology will definitely help the new industry which is coming in the Pasco, where the students can be placed in the workforce. So we are very happy to share this with the students and give them the hands-on training. Next slide, please. Along with that, this is our half a circle where students get trained with the latest technology of irrigation. So we can operate from the phones, iPads, and just sit at home and irrigate your fields. So training students with this is really very important, especially western part of the Northwest is heavily irrigated with agriculture. Like it's an irrigated agriculture production. So providing students with this technology is very important. So we are happy to even give this type of training to our students. Next slide, please. Okay, and as you know, 80% of this area is dominated with hay production. Washington is one of the highest, next to fourth most important crop is hay production in Washington. So providing students hands-on training with this type of equipment is very important. So we are really happy to even give this type of hands-on experience to our students. Next slide, please. This is our new combine. I would like to talk a little bit on this because half, not half, 3/4 of our grant goes to this equipment, which is hi-fi. It has auto steering where students, next slide, please. So you can see it's a multi-chopper harvester. So with this, you can harvest cereals like oats, wheat, corn. And if you change the header, you can even harvest the beans like pinto beans, black beans, soybeans, so all different types of beans. Next slide, please. And here you can see the technology, how it's operated. So this type of technology will help students to harvest quickly. You can measure the yield, you can measure the moisture content in your field. So everything is recorded. So once you record on this, it's directly, the data can be accessed in your computer. So you're giving, again, hands-on training with the latest technology to the students, which is really awesome. I would say training this type of equipment will provide students a great opportunity to enter into the local workforce, which is heavily dominated with agriculture. 80% of Washington is really dominated with agricultural industry. So I am really happy to see this equipment. Next week, we will be using our first time. This combine will be used in the field in our 10 acres farm, and we will be harvesting our cornfield. Next slide, please. Along with that, I would just talk about the enrollments. In the past year, we really had 27 distinct students generating nearly 11.1 student FTE. Next slide, please. And I would also like to share, this is our fields which are on campus. So we have 10 acres on campus, which is providing our students hands-on training. So they get exposed to the research activities from planting till harvesting. So we are really happy to share this to you and share how we train the students. So next slides, please. So this is how we provide the hands-on training to the students. So they help us planting. So we are giving them the real-time experience, which is used in the industry. So they harvest, they plant, they transplant, they know about that equipment, how to transplant, what is the spacing, what needs to be sprayed, how it needs to. So all basic information is being provided along with in the classroom, but also in the hands-on, like in the field too. So this is one way of collecting the data. So along with the training, here we are even doing research activities in the 10 acres farm we have on campus. So you can see some of our students collecting the data. So we have some activities collaborated with Washington State University, Oregon State University, and also some of the seed companies. Along with teaching, we are even doing research activities, which is used by the companies. So we are really proud to share that being a community college, we are still providing those types of training. So yes, it's great. Next slide, please. And again, not only training, so we are helping students to help with the communication skills, presentation skills. So far, I would say like in past 3 years, we nearly presented 12 to roughly like 15 presentations were given, both at local and also national level. So students are prepared even with those types of activities, which we can proudly say, oh, we are happy and proud of doing these type of things. And not only that, as I said, so far we trained 20 students, like in past 3 years, we trained 20 students, which are like who are currently working in the local ag industry. Like, for example, we have Lambeston, Simplot, Syngenta, and even some became like technicians with the Washington State University. So we are proudly, we can say like we are assisting the local community and also workforce. So we are success in doing that. and I'm really happy to share that. And one another strongest part our Columbia Basin Agriculture Program has is partnership. We have very strong partnership with our local community. I would say local schools. We serve on the boards. We give local field tours to the students. We educate them. We provide some hands-on activities to the local schools. And along with that, we have some collaborations with the universities where we are organizing professional development workshops for educating students, educating faculty, instructors at high schools, and telling them how STEM can be applied in agriculture. So that's something we are doing with the local schools. And again, we are really proud to do that. And that's one thing. The other thing is we even work with the community colleges. Like recently, I think last year, we formed the Eastern Ag Consortium, where all the community, eastern part of the community colleges formed together, and we are serving the students. So there is easy transfer between the colleges. So that's something which we started last year, and we are expecting, hopefully, we will serve and we will grow better and come up with better ideas and better collaboration too. That's something we are doing. And we even have very strong collaboration with the local ag industries. They serve on our ag advisory board. They provide their opinions and serve on the boards based on the local needs. We are changing our curriculum so it fits into the workforce, like help the community industry and thereby assisting them in the workforce. That's something we are doing. And along with that, we even have some collaborations where we are conducting research activities. We do have some breeding projects with local companies like Simplot, Syngenta, Bayer Crop Science, where we work with them. And another thing we do is universities. We have very strong collaboration with Washington State University, Oregon State University, Eastern Oregon University, and also Eastern Washington University, where we have couple grants conducting on outreach activities, educating local high schools, providing professional development workshops for instructors, and also providing summer internships, which is a huge part of some of our grants we have with the universities, and also federal agencies like USDA ARS, which is located in the Prosser locations. So that is something we are doing. And along with all this education, one another important thing our agricultural program does is educating growers. So we even addresses some of the issues which are raised by the growers. They give us calls and we provide some suggestions, and also serve on the boards, assisting them with the latest technology and providing some solutions to the farming production. So that's what I have. Next slide, please. And I would like to acknowledge everyone and a big thank you to our Career Connect projects and programs which helped us to endorse our programs and also providing us the grant. Once again, thank you to Career Connect, the state board. Thank you, everyone. And I would like to introduce our students, Paulette Torres. She will be explaining her student success at Columbia Basin College in our AG program. Paulette, can you go ahead and please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Before I introduce myself, I just want to give a big thanks for this opportunity I got. Now I'll be talking about my background. I'm Paulette Torres, born and raised in Kennewick, Washington. I'm glad to say that I'm the first generation in my family to go to college at Columbia Basin College. First, when I started CBC, my goal was to get my degree in food science. But after I started working as a student in the ag department in assisted outreach activities, I changed my mind to get my associate's degree in agriculture production, then transferred to Washington State University to get my bachelor's for fruit and vegetable management. As a student worker, I assisted in organizing outreach activities for high school students and parents in field day, well as sharing my experience working in the arboriculture department to high school students and undecided CBC students. I'm glad that I got to introduce to all those activities because my confidence and communication skills grow. Well, as a student worker, I gained research skills working in the greenhouse and in the field for different breeding projects. I gained skills in setting up experiment, organizing items needed for experiments, data collecting, and presenting. So far, I gave 2 oral and 2 poster presentations at local and nationally conference. I'm glad that I had hands-on training on drones because drones have grown in agriculture by offering farmers major cost savings, enhanced effectively, and more profits. I got impressed when I got training for the combine because the new high technology makes the field work easier and faster. I'm very proud of myself for receiving the Golden Opportunity Scholar Award from the American Society of Agronomy, Crop Science Society of America, and Soil Science Society of America, which recognize nationally achievements, leadership, and interest in a career in agronomy, crop science, or soil science. I'm very happy for this reward, which will personalize my photo and poster in the Rewards Hall of Fame and CSA newsletter. During my internship, along with hands-on training, I gained experience working with 3 different organizations, with CBC, USDA, and Washington State University. I had a great opportunity to work with graduate students from University of California and research associates from USDA, Wisconsin. During this time, I learned tracking genetically engineered wild alfalfa populations. I gained breeding skills in potato and legumes while working with USDA genetics and physiologists. At Washington State University, I gained knowledge in grapevine, but the best part of it all is that I got offered for another internship for next year while working for my bachelor's at Washington State University. My goals are, after finishing school, to get a good job as an agronomist and then later in the long run to own my own business.
Well, thank you all. Governor, do you have questions for any of our presenters?
Yes, I really enjoyed that presentation. Paulette, I didn't know I was going to meet you today, but I do want to show you what pin I'm wearing here. I got the Cougar pin on today, just so you'll know. And
Right.
well, it was really exciting to see your future as a Cougar. You mentioned that you changed your kind of major emphasis at some point. What led you to make that change? Was that an experience, or what led to that?
It was more experience, and then I discovered that I don't want to. I want to be more outdoors and learning every day because in ag, there's always something to learn to new when you work in the fields.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Are you going to have any sort of, you mentioned you sort of want to own your own business someday. Will you have any sort of business, education, financing, that marketing, that kind of thing? Will you have any exposure to that in the program you're in now?
We do sort of, but I'm willing to learn more if it comes to that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's how most businesses start, to know what you're doing to start with, then worry about the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're inspiring other students already, and so that's really good news, and we really appreciate that. So let me ask, if I can, Dr. Is it Kisoju? I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name.
Dr. Kisoju.
Yeah, what is the single most important thing you think you can do to help the Paulettes of the world get entry into these programs? What do you think is most important?
Yes, as I said, Paulette, she said she changed her major, right? I'm behind her because she attended. Actually, she started as a student worker in my department, and then after she started attending some of the careers, she tried to change her career. So right now, I already changed her. So now my job as a supervisor is to make sure she enters into the workforce. And she already got that. So because one of the instructor at Washington State University is trying to get her into the loop. So once she gets bachelor's, we are always there to help her and make sure she gets into the workforce. And we have very good partnership with the industry like Simplot, Syngenta. They always be in touch with us, email us the positions available. So I keep routing that to the students. In that way, they know there is a job and they can apply. And if needed, we are there to step in. So that's what I would be doing to our students. For me, especially, it's not like just getting the education, but getting that hands-on and making sure the students enter into the workforce is very important. Or everyone gets degree, but are they getting into the workforce? That matters a lot. So as a director, my job is to make sure they enter into the workforce. That's where I feel my success steps in.
That's great.
That's helping me. That's where we served like 20 students so far they're in touch with me. They say, hey, I'm here. I'm doing good. How are you? So that's how we maintain. And our program is doing great in those types of things. So I'm so happy to say how our program does and how we are educating.
That's great. Well, I used to grow hay in the Yakima Valley, and if I'd had Paulette to advise me, I would have stayed in the business instead of getting into politics. But anyway, Paulette, I'm looking forward to your career. If you were a corporation, I'd buy stock in you today. I have to tell you that. And I'm very inspired by your story. So thanks for everybody working on this.
All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Now we will hear from a community partner, Dr. Sue Kane.
Good afternoon, Governor Inslee. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you an update about the regional implementation of Career Connect Washington. I'm joining you today from Wenatchee, Washington, but I have to begin by recognizing that I'm actually here speaking on behalf of 9 regional network directors and career connected learning coordinators at ESDs who are all investing their time and talent and skills and connections and ideas to this initiative. And what a mighty team we have. I think we have some of the best out there, but we've been talking about that. You've given us an opportunity to create an aligned path for young Washingtonians to explore and prepare and connect to future careers here in Washington that will earn them wages to provide for their families. And I know you've had some opportunities to see some of these programs like the AJAC apprenticeship that's happening here and meet some of these students firsthand, as have I. And their stories kind of stay with you. I find it genuinely exciting because this Career Connect Washington program really transcends K-12 and higher education and workforce training programs. And it provides comprehensive support for young people from ages 5 to 30 and lets them imagine career paths that leverage their unique talents and where those might meet Washington needs. In a way, you could say that we're sort of rebuilding part of Washington's infrastructure in its workforce pipeline. Sorry, my screen struggled there for a second. But we're trying to design the system to be more comprehensive and efficient and, of course, inclusive. And this is a really big idea. Here in North Central Washington, our Career Connect Washington network has been assembled to reflect that cross-sector leadership that you saw at the state level. Our executive board has representation geographically across the region and from industry and K-12, higher education, workforce, nonprofit, and community partners. I actually co-lead our local network alongside an amazing workforce partner, Aaron Perot, who is with SkillSource. And we're working under a cross-sector collective impact model, which I know you know well. For me, this means that my partners are not all working on the same things or the same ways or the same paths, but we share a common vision and goals and metrics, and we're engaging in continuous conversation about our progress. Our local system has a pretty clear focus to connect young people with credential paths that have immediate labor market value. And we can discuss at some point how that value can be understandably different in rural communities as opposed to our more metropolitan parts of the state. But for now, it means that we need to make sure that 100% of youth have skills and preparation for future career paths that they choose by the time they leave high school in my region. And we'd like to see 70% of those youth continue into education and training. In my region, we have 2 incredible community and technical colleges. Both have embraced Career Connect Washington with open arms. Both are represented on my executive board and are working to engage and align programs to meet the needs of local employers, as well as extending outreach to K-12 program partners. So in a way, we're both laying down new paths, but we're also simultaneously reworking and rebuilding existing paths for more young people to be successful. I want to tell you, Governor, about an up and coming career launch program that really kind of highlights this process. In Wenatchee Valley College had a small 18-credit computer-aided design certificate that was embedded in their 4-year applied engineering program. And through an intermediary, they were able to support this with a woman, Jennifer Hattersberger. She engaged employers and really started to hear that CAD skill set could be augmented with some other skills to provide entry-level work with several local employers. And so she actually spent the next year on some needed program revisions with faculty, and they were able to come away with a program of study that would meet local employer needs. And that's typical of our community and technical college process, but really that's just the foundation, because Career Launch gave WVC an opportunity to look really before and after that post-secondary credential. So Jennifer went back to the employers many more times, and she knew she had the program design correct when employers like our city of Wenatchee or Pacific Engineering or our Chelan PUD signed on to offer paid work experiences for students that are in that program. And this consortia of employers in a rural region like ours attests to the robust training and their confidence in WVC, but it also speaks to the relationships that WVC and Jennifer are working to maintain with local employers. But that's actually not where it stops. As part of Career Connect Washington and Career Launch development, Jennifer was simultaneously working on an outreach plan to engage local high school students. So she met with the Career Connect specialist at the North Central Education Service District, Tammy McBride, and myself to learn about the K-12 programs that might align to this new credential. And we were able to give her insight about local CTE or career and technical education programs that included CAD coursework in Chelan, Douglas, and Okanagan counties, and then connect Jennifer with the district leaders to discuss articulation and alignment of these programs. So in fact, these programs and courses already had over 150 young people enrolled, and we were thrilled. And these courses will actually serve as an on-ramp for this WVC program, and students can earn as much as 15 credits of their credential while still in high school. And the Okanagan, Eastmont, Wenatchee, and Kashmir school districts were actually included as training partners on their Career Launch endorsement application. So I guess this excites me because it really does unite local partners in development. And here we have a new path with a credential, and it includes this meaningful paid work experience. And we've celebrated 10 of these Career Launch programs in our region so far. And we've been working together this way for the last 2 years with an approach that is also deeply dependent on several of the critical supports that actually have been highlighted just ahead of me here. And while it was mentioned, I want to underscore just how important it has been to have access to the data and to Dr. Myers-Twitchell's data team. We are using data daily: workforce, employment trends, credential attainments, demographic data, student outcomes. OSPI has been another, just stalwart partner in helping us to visualize where we need to put effort to make the most impact. And our data tells us that we are making progress, but we still have work cut out for us. In North Central Washington, only 49% of young people are enrolling in post-secondary programs. and just 33% overall are on track to earn that post-secondary credential by age 26. So we know if we're going to meet demand, we need to at least double this number, and even more so for young people who come from low income or rural homes and our families of color. And our data does suggest that there are barriers that impact a student's ability to benefit from even these pathways. So we're really working systematically to see and assess and address those barriers. We're recruiting community partners to this. In fact, when we stopped to celebrate at the end of last school year, there were 300 community volunteers who we had to reach out to recognize for their individual contributions and investments in our Career Connected Learning Network. So to sum up, this opportunity has been really challenging and complex, but I'm inspired. It has so much potential, and we've made a really strong start. I'm really proud of our local partners and leaders, and really grateful to you for the visionary investments that you're making to the young people here in North Central Washington.
Thank you, Dr. Kane. Governor, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Dr. Kane, it's impressed you had 300 partners you were feeding for their work. What's the next horizon? What's the next quantum leap forward on getting Latinx young people involved in this?
You know, one of the things that is most exciting about some of the things that we've learned is that when we can create multi-generational engagement opportunities, a lot of our Latinx population, they are first gen. They are not familiar with pursuing post-secondary credentials. And there is an opportunity actually in simultaneously training incumbent workforce and our adults and youth at the same time. And we're really leaning in and looking for innovative ways that we can put Career Connect Washington programs right alongside maybe adult basic education types of programs to really mobilize both generations at the same time. And I think that idea is early, but really worth leaning into, especially in my region.
Good luck. That's great, really exciting.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kane. Up next is Anna Nicoleva from the Employment Security Department. Anna?
Yeah, thank you, Governor, for the opportunity. And it's such a pleasure to be here. I'm Anna Nicoleva. I represent both the Employment Security Department and the Career Connect Washington statewide team. And I would like to spend a few minutes talking about how this Results Washington project aligns with the overall Career Connect equity strategy. So our intent with this project is to increase equitable recruitment and support existing participants in successful completion of career-connected learning experiences. While this project started relatively recently, its goal has been one of extreme importance to CCW from the very inception. And we don't view equity as a side project for CCW. It is embedded into everything that we do. And in order for us to maintain focus, we have identified 6 work streams that help us operationalize our goal of ensuring that demographics do not predict access, enrollment, and completion of career-connected learning programs. And this project, it shows up in all 6 of these work streams. So as you heard earlier, measurement and learning informs our strategy and helps us identify gaps. Technology, the directory of career-connected learning in particular, allows us not only to get the word out to students about the opportunities in their region, but it also connects them to organizations that provide support services such as transportation, work clothing, pre-employment preparation, and others. And student support is essential at all levels of career-connected learning continuum. In addition to providing information via the directory, our work involves efforts to remove barriers to participation through potential legislative changes, through our grant processes. And Dan mentioned a good example earlier regarding Employment Security's CCW contract deliverables, collaboration with partners such as agencies, community-based organizations, workforce boards, and others. And there are so many success stories across the state. It is important to identify those best practices, celebrate the successes, and share what works. So we create opportunities for agencies, for regional networks, for program intermediaries to collaborate and learn from each other so that these successes can go further. And just as measurement and learning is essential to identifying gaps, so it is integral to holding our partners accountable. And Maud had shared some examples of how we do that. And I'll just add that this project contributes yet another element of accountability to the system. And last but not least is our newest work stream, which is the Equity Advisory Network. EAN's role is to provide strategic input into key aspects of CCW to advance our equity goals. And none of the other 5 work streams would have the impact we intend them to if we're conducting this work in a vacuum. The Equity Advisory Network provides the voice of the communities that we're aiming to serve, and with its current 40 members who represent communities of color, program builders, educators, we are able to test our assumptions, avoid confirmation and other biases, correct course when necessary. We're not shy to admit if we've gone in a wrong direction, and gain new insights. And the Equity Advisory Network is essential to our success as it also plays a role in this particular project. We will be engaging them as we're developing strategies and promising practices to recruit and support students. And now I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Carly Schiffner to talk about the specific actions that we'll take as part of this project in alignment with our strategy.
Thank you, Anna. And just real quick, we wanted just to mention that we're really looking forward to working collectively on the following 3 things as we look to the future this year. And so first, we'd like to expand promotion and marketing for our career launch programming. Second, we'd like to continue to partner and grow with our community-based organizations. And third, we'd like to continue to look for ways to partner with other initiatives already in motion, such as the High School and Beyond plan. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Maud. Thank you, Maud.
You were quick there, Carly. Thank you so much. And I am just going to wrap up here, Governor, by sharing with you that by February, mid-February, we hope to have all of the various agencies committed to specific actions that will help us make sure that every student has a chance to experience these pathways. And really using the brain trust and the muscle of the entire state to help with that. Obviously, our regional networks are also very, very engaged in this, but this work is really targeted at our state agencies and their focus on this initiative. So we're very, very appreciative for the opportunity to do that, and we are really thrilled to work with new partners in that effort. If we go to the next page, it's important because our ambition is big, as you said at the beginning. Our goal is that by the class of 2030s, turning age 30, that 60% of that class will have chosen career launch as a way to pursue their college and career success. And to do that, we have to grow the pathways that we offer dramatically. You can see here we are in 2021. If we can just manage to grow 16% per year, we're going to be there. And that sounds hugely ambitious. It is hugely ambitious, but it's doable because of the kinds of people you've heard from today. We have already in the state so many dedicated people jumping in and making this happen for students. We are going to be wanting to continue that work and work on making sure that every person has a chance to participate through this great equity initiative. I want to end with a beautiful example because I know, because I've been with you in various settings, that the thing that lights up your heart the most is seeing students actually participate in these efforts. And this is just a lovely example to end with. You've heard many today, but the Next Move Healthcare Career Launch Program actually initiates in K-12 in the Tacoma Public Schools. And it has a couple of employer partners who are large. And so many students can participate. It was developed with grant funds that wouldn't have been possible but for Career Connect Washington and the funding that the state has provided. And they came in and got the program endorsed in spring of 2021. So it's a kind of brand new career launch program. It includes a 90-hour paid internship. It gives them college credit with Clover Park Technical College. It gives them an industry certification, and it provides all that employer mentorship and leadership. So this is just a wonderful one to end on. And you can see the students here with their mentor, teacher, employer, leader. They're in the work setting and they're getting that hands-on experience. So I think if we all collectively keep this image in our heads and our students at the heart, we were going to succeed beautifully. And I want to thank you again for your leadership on this initiative.
Thank you all. Governor, do you have any questions?
No, I just like to get everybody to work on this. Maud is, as always, inspirational, showing that picture. This is what this is about. And there's really nothing better we can do in public life than give young people an opportunity like this. So, you know, I'm just so excited to hear the work we're doing. I know that we got more work to do. I do hope that we'll focus on maybe assessing all of the tools we use, to what extent they're reaching BIPOC and underserved and low income and disabled communities. That's one thing we didn't talk a lot about today, but I think we should give some thought to, of looking at our tools and say, what percentage of that tool reaches that particular audience? Maybe that's one way to assess some of our efforts here that's worthy of consideration. So onward and upward. I'm pleased we're leading the country, but we don't want to just lead the country. We want to be way in front of the country. So I encourage us to continue in this direction. So thanks, everybody. I learned some things. And next time we talk, I know we're going to get more done. Thanks, Maud, for your leadership. Let's go get them. And everybody get vaccinated, please.
All right, well, thank you all. Thanks to everyone who attended the meeting today. As a reminder, please take the time to complete the survey that will pop up at the end of the meeting. Thank you to our agency partners who helped us bring this project work to the fore. This is an incredibly important project focused on providing equitable access to Career Connect programs and supporting current students to completion. We are so appreciative of the partnership with Career Connect Washington, Employment Security Department, and the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges. Big thank you to Maud, Dr. Myers-Twitchell, Dr. Schiffner, Dr. Lee, Dr. Kisoju, Paulette, and Anna for being here today. Thank you to Results Washington project leads, Jessica Dang and Christy Snow, and to all the Results team for their parts in making this possible. And thanks to my leadership, Kelly, Jamila, to you, Governor, for your support of us and our work. With that, I'll turn it back to you for any final words.
Let's go get them.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, everybody.